Like a fat guy putting on shots, you split your sides at Thursday Thoughts. Welcome to this week's episode of Thursday Thoughts with Eddie Anchor. I'm your host, Eddie Anchor. I am fired up for this week's episode. We've got an action-packed show for you this evening, so let's get straight into it. Now, unfortunately, we start the horrible bye rounds this week, so it's going to be a bit of a massacre in the first few games coming up. It's the perfect opportunity for teams down the bottom with not much to lose to fill up their team every single week and hope to snare 3 important victories over the byes. Titles may not be decided in the bye rounds, but wooden spoons can be. Now, we move on to the first game this week, Bunga versus Andy. It's going to be a tough week for the current league leader as Bunga runs into Andy, who will be near full strength this week. It is almost a foregone conclusion that Bunga's reign of terror over the league will be short-lived, as Andy will skip straight over the top of him this week into the top 2. A parade in Andy's honour will be thrown this week to celebrate the momentous occasion of beating Bunga. Unfortunately, he will be unable to attend as it will not be held in his bedroom. Andy by 500 points. Chris versus Hayden. When I talk about teams that are in dire need of bye round victories, Chris is the man I speak of. Only last week chalking up his first win of the season, he will be doing all he can to make sure it's going to be 4 in a row over the bye rounds. The only problem is he runs into Hayden this week, who himself has quite a large number of players in this week. With Hayden's deplorable effort last week though, losing to Bunga, his commitment to the league is currently in question since he's moved on to Japan. As Chris has far more to gain from this game, I tip him to make it back-to-back wins. Chris by 87. Callum versus Tom. This game is hardly worth mentioning. Even if both had a full team, it would be a shellacking in Tom's favour. The fact Tom has a near full strength team to choose from, and Callum basically got the bootstrapper and the orange boy left, as he sent everybody off on holidays, it is going to be a major dent in Callum's percentage and a certain pass into top spot for Tom regardless of Bunga's result this week. Tom by 950 points for the biggest win of the season. Matt versus Ben. In the wake of all the new rivalries that have built this year, this one is the original grudge match. These two have been in competition since they were both old enough to reach the meat pies in the freezer. In Matt's case, he was only 3. It wasn't until he was 7 though that he worked out that they tasted much better if you actually cooked them rather than just eating them raw. This is set up to be the closest match of the round and maybe Ben's last opportunity to actually win a game this year. It is made a little more spicy with the midweek trade where they swapped Nick Nat for Kurt Tippett between the two. Swapping to the enemy is certainly not new for Kurt Tippett though. He doesn't even bother unpacking his suitcases these days when he arrives at a club. This match is the only one with any genuine interest this week, and like most things, Ben has an edge over Matt, so this will be no different. Ben by 93. Robbo versus Steve. Like things couldn't get any worse for Steve this week. After getting trade raped by Andy, he will now run into a gunfight with Robbo with nothing more than his cock in his hand and a white flag in the other. He has offloaded a blue chip player in Chad Wingard to a team several positions above him on the ladder, only for an average back pocket player in replacement. Not that any of this really matters because his team is pretty much a lost cause anyway. He is eyeing off that wooden spoon and is all of a sudden a serious chance of snatching it from Callum this year. Robbo will barely have to ease his team out of second gear to get the job done here. Robbo by 400. Mick versus the commish. Finally, the time has come for Tricky's team to stand up and finally remove itself from the shadow of a team that has dominated it so badly in the past 12 months. There is no way this match will even be a close contest, and the next one of the commish teams being available, well, he's got no one left, and Tricky's got plenty of players, and even with his usual run of injuries, he'll still get the job done. It has been rumoured that the commish tried to use their friendship as leverage in an effort to preserve some percentage this week and have Tricky take it easy on him. As you may have seen, these pictures were taken in the resulting discussion as Tricky didn't appreciate being put in the position to choose between winning and friendship. A global media circus has erupted, and as you can see from this morning's paper, here's what we've seen. Now, we're going to cross live to our man on the scene, Johnny on the spot, who will give us a quick breakdown of what's occurred.
Thank you, Eddie. It's Johnny on the spot here. It was only perchance that I happened to actually be waiting crouched outside of the Commissioner's house behind his rubbish bins when all hell broke loose. I could hear shouts coming from inside the house. At first I thought I'd been busted peeking through his front window, but I soon realized he was in a loud phone conversation. About 11:15, Mr. Mickey arrived at the Commissioner's property with nothing but a pair of shorts that are 9 sizes too big for him and a 6-pack of Jim Beam under his arm. Before he could reach the door, the Commissioner came racing out and inflicted the stone-cold stunner on Mr. Mickey, rendering him stunned. Then he voluntarily was laid in the middle of the lawn before the Commissioner climbed onto the edge of the fence and splashed down onto Mr. Mickey. Seemingly unconscious, while the Commissioner was busy taking time out to rile up the crowd and get them all fired up, Mr. Mickey found the metal chair for some reason sitting in the front yard and proceeded to cannon it off the Commissioner's skull. It was at this point Mr. Mickey opened 2 cans of Beam, sculled them, and exited the premises, at which point theme music was started to be played and the street lights came back on. To me, it all seemed incredibly real and not make-believe at all. There is no way this brutal battle was a publicity stunt to promote their upcoming match. Thank you very much. It's Johnny on the spot. Back to the studio.
Thank you very much for that, Johnny. Now, I'm a little concerned as to what you were doing there in the first place, but we'll leave that for a judge and a jury of your peers to decide. Now it's time to take a look at the ladder. Much to everyone's disappointment this week, Bunga is back on top with only 1 loss, but he's got Tom for company with only the smallest amount of percentage the difference between the two of them. The biggest danger to their duopoly of stupidity at the top of this league is Andy, who has managed to avoid any serious injuries to his players this year, and he's nipping right at their heels in 3rd position. Now, right down to the bottom all of a sudden, with Chris getting his first win, Callum is starting to get a little nervous about retaining back-to-back spoons. That's what we're hoping for. Get him in there. Now, it's time to move on to Free Agent of the Week. This week's free agent only seems fitting. After a full week of speculation, uncertainty about whether he would even play, and the eyes of the entire football world on him, I think this week Jack Viney will come out and show everyone the good hard footy is still alive and well. With the Bulldogs as the Demons' opposition, they may fancy themselves a chance of backing up with a 2nd win in a row. Even if they don't, the contested brand of footy the Dogs like to play will certainly be conducive to the way Viney racks up his points. He is a superstar in the making, and everyone will be watching him this week. Get around him, he'll be ready to score off the charts. Now, it's time for Eddie Mail! I only received 1 email, very, very late before this show this week. This segment was pretty much on its last legs with a lack of emails coming in, but this email may have very well saved it for 1 more week. This week's email comes in from the Thunderdome's very own reigning champion, Ben. Now, the email says, Dear Eddie, a certain someone in the Thunderdome is really getting to me. I've tried ignoring him, teasing him, and also yelling at him, but nothing seems to work. This man is Bunga. I'm sick to death of him offering me trades just to be a dick. I've been getting headaches from trying to read his bullshit messages. I'm even finding my own spelling getting worse because of him. Is there something you can do, like ban him from posting on the Thunderdome forum, or better yet, ban him from the league altogether? Hashtag Fuck Bunga 2014. Kind regards, your reigning champ, Ben. Well, Ben, unfortunately for you, the Commission only sits once a year to discuss potential ins and outs of the league. In the middle of the season, this isn't a viable option. The league does have a health plan for all its members though, so I recommend you head in and see your club doctor immediately about those headaches. Now, I actually have a set of prescribed glasses given to me by the good doctor that are specially designed for dealing with Bunga. They're called Bunga Block. They work by completely blocking out your line of sight so you can't read his bullshit. Now, if these fail to do the trick, there's a new product on the market with a 99% success rate. It's called No More Bung. It is a special patented formula derived from natural papaya plant that sticks to his fingers and inhibits his ability to type. I hope this will help you, Benny boy. Head on straight down to your club doctor and he'll get straight onto it. Now, the final segment. It's time for Eddie Anker's Weekly Wanker. It's that wonderful time again where we put the spotlight on one particular wanker from the previous week and expose them to the rest of the world. This week, in my eyes anyway, it is a blatantly obvious one. In this league, we would try to avoid as many free kicks and easy victories for players as it ruins it for everyone. Last year, Andrew rolled over like the meek little dog that he is to let Ben win and subsequently go on and win the league. Now, last week, when all the world was with him, everyone was riding the winning horse home and he stopped as if shot and let Bunga get the most unlikely of victories with half his team injured. Rumours have filtered back that this gentleman has been too busy jerking off to Japanese cartoons while he's been swanning around Tokyo in a fluoro pink kimono, telling all the women that he is Tom Cruise from The Last Samurai. If you're going to be in this league, Hayden, pull your fucking head in and get it out of your own ass and concentrate. Like Paul Warfield Tibbets, do you realise what you have done? The last thing you needed to do was give the league leader a free kick. That's it for this week. Thank you for tuning in. Due to the bye, the players are taking time off, so's Eddie. There will be a 2-week hiatus because the bye weeks are shit and boring, and I don't want the show to end up just like that. Enjoy the footy. Try to take some time off while your team isn't playing. There is a big second half of the year to come. Bye for now.
Thursday night is here again, a little after 10:15. The wife's asleep, the children too. That leaves a man with one thing to do. Bring out the laptop, it's time for your date. Settle in and learn your fantasy fate. With a bang, Eddie welcomes you in. He turns his hat, then it's time to begin. The week that was, you might rather forget. Who is the dud and who is the jet? Start the weekend with a dose of the anchor and laugh your ass off at Weekly Wanker. Like Federer down at the cots, here's your servile Thursday thoughts. Like a hobo eating his watts, here's your fill of Thursday thoughts. Like a fat guy putting on shorts, you'll split your sides at Thursday thoughts.